Alright, yes, the title's correct, the gym is fucking up your life, and I want to show you why. But firstly, I'm going to show you this debate. You've probably seen it recently, it's been going viral, of Piers Morgan debating Chris Williamson, just basically on what is the first priority in terms of getting things in order in your life. Is it mental strength or is it physical strength? Like, what's the biggest problem that we're faced with today? Alright, I just want to take a quick look at this, because I think it's going to lead in pretty nicely to the reasoning behind why I fucked my life up through the gym.
Mental strength or physical strength?
Physical strength. Mental strength is downstream from it.
I think mental first. I think mental strength is the number one issue in the world right now. I think we need to make our young people mentally stronger. They're all gym
I don't
bunnies.
disagree.
They're all gym bunnies. They're all piling the weights on, but they don't have it up here.
Trying to think your way out of overthinking is like trying to sniff your way out of a cocaine addiction. And you can't really change the mind with the mind. You have to change it with the body first. So going for a walk will do way more for your mood than sitting and thinking about and vacillating about whatever's dealing with you. If I had the choice between a good night's sleep or a hard training session, I would go to the gym, because the difference in my mood before and after the gym is way more than before and after a night's sleep. So I don't disagree. The two work simpatico together, but for me, if you do not have a physical practice of some kind and you're struggling with mental health, you need to look at the physical side before you look at the mental side. That is the foundation. That's the raw materials of what your mentality is going to grow out of.
Mental strength.
Cool. Alright, so obviously, like, Chris doesn't really necessarily disagree with what Piers is saying, but the recommendation he's giving you is it starts with physical, whereas Piers is saying probably more mental, right? Yeah, he's right. They work both hand in hand. Obviously, there has to be a starting point. There has to be a point of action. So Chris is saying it starts with the physical side of things. Now, while I do agree with Chris, I think Piers brings up a pretty good point here. So we're just going to rewatch this first part, okay? And this is what kind of fucked me up in my journey as well.
Strength or physical strength?
Physical strength. Mental strength is downstream from it.
I think mental first. I think mental strength is the number one issue in the world right now. I think we need to make our young people mentally stronger. They're all gym bunnies.
I don't disagree.
So that's the important part, right? They're all gym bunnies. So if you take the kind of recommendation and what everybody kind of agrees with at the end of this video, that Chris is saying, yes, mental and physical go hand in hand, but physical is the place to start, okay? And then, you know, you go into the gym, you action that, you might go out, do some kind of exercise. Typically, what happens is we kind of lean towards more one or two types of training, just because that's what's popularized at the moment. It's the easier option, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Like, it's the easier option to get into. You don't have to work as hard on a non-competitive level, which I'll explain what those are here in a second. But essentially, we just become gym bunnies, right? So if you're looking to kind of elevate your life, unlock your full potential through training, okay, you have to approach it in a different light, because otherwise you just become a gym bunny, which is what I did, which is what I'm going to show you, which resulted in some pretty negative outcomes, hence the gym fucking up my life. Right, so this is me kind of in the gym bunny era. Let's call it the gym bunny era. So back in, like, I've been going to the gym since 2012. This is 2016, probably 2011 actually. So I had like 5 years experience up until this point. Now those first like 4 or 5 years, I was playing sport, right? So I had a competitive element to training. Like, I still wanted to like train to be good competitively. I still had a bit of a competitive edge boiling within me, where, like, you know, I was still trying to, like, you know, get as strong as I could, look as good as I could, perform as good as I could. I was trying to do a little bit too much, but at the end of the day, I still had a lot of good bases covered. I was still out at, obviously, training for sport, which was rugby at the time. You know, I was still running, sprinting, playing competitive stuff, tackling, wrestling, all that sort of carry on. So there's still that element to my physical well-being, right? In 2015, I was completely stripped of that. I made the decision to not play anymore just due to head injuries. And as a result of that, I still wanted to maintain what I was doing in the gym, and I kind of started to lean towards the things that interested me most when I was training, which was like lifting heavy and building muscle, right? So as a result, I started training like a bodybuilder or a powerlifter. I started looking up programs. They were the easiest to access. They were the most abundant online. There was the most advice on those online. They looked the most attractive. And to be completely honest, like, training like a bodybuilder and training like a powerlifter on a non-competitive level, I'm not talking about people who do it at the elite level, on a non-competitive level for just an average gym goer, it's not that hard. It's going to offend a few of you, but it's not that fucking hard, okay? As a result of doing that, I was unfit. I was, 12 kilo over what I typically was. During that 5-year span, I kind of went from about 85 to like 93-ish. I was trying to put on weight for a good portion of that. I was always injured and that was primarily because of going to the gym. And I'm not saying this results in injury, but what I'm saying is I didn't give myself the best chance to be resilient from injuries that occurred outside of the gym, if that makes sense. Okay, I struggled to play sports, so I was trying to play sports again with my mates just to be social and do something I used to enjoy, and I actually struggled. So it wasn't rugby, it was another sport, and I really struggled with it. I was unfit, uncoordinated, just was a shit time. I looked shit, hence no topless pictures. So as you can see here, this shirt's probably doing me somewhat of a favour, but still looks pretty crap. Like, it was just terrible under there. That's why I don't have any topless photos during this time. Yeah, so yeah, self-esteem was pretty low. Social self-esteem was low, like outside of my small friend group. I was actually unemployed at the time. I just finished university. I was comfortable living-wise, so I had just returned to home after university. So I had no real pressures on me. So in a summary, I had no pressures on me. I wasn't competitive. I was unemployed. Okay, I could sleep like a crackhead because I could just stay up as late as I wanted because I didn't have to get up and be anywhere in the morning. And the important one here is I trained to eat. Okay, so I would go and do a hard training session. I would come out and I would make some poor food choices, but I would justify it by how hard I trained. But in reality, like I said, training this way, you can train hard. Don't get me wrong, you can train hard. But training this way and the approach that I took to it, the more science approach, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard, and there's no way justified the shitty food choices that I made. Okay? Now, this is transition that kind of happened in the following years. I started to switch things around probably around about 2018. It really got into full swing, and I've been through some ebbs and flows with it, of course, but I've always kind of kept that principle of not getting stuck to training solely like a powerlifter or solely like a bodybuilder. Okay? Just really trying to broaden my athletic horizon, because at the end of the day, being a human is being athletic. Okay, we all have these athletic capabilities to jump, lift, throw, sprint, all that sort of stuff, right? And we need to make sure we're tapping into those, especially if you want to do things outside of the gym and you just want to exceed and elevate your life. Okay, so these pictures are taken at two separate times, hence the range of 90 to 95. One is around about 2018, 2019. This one's 2023. So a bit of muscle gain during that time. Average 7.8 hours of sleep. I was tracking, I've worn one of these since about the same time this photo here on the right was taken, about 2019, 2018. It's a Whoop band. I do actually have a link down below if you want to try one of these out for a month. You don't have to live and die by it, but essentially I've used it on and off. I check it every few days, sometimes once a week, just to see where my sleep's at, just to see, make sure it's on track, okay, make sure I'm doing the right things, got that base covered, okay. It's a really important part of your performance. Like I said, if you want to try one of these out, there is a link below. Right. I was competitive again. I started playing sport again. Okay, I took up new things like kickboxing. Okay, which obviously elevated that competitiveness again within me. It gave me motivation, gave me desire. I also started sprinting, running again, jumping, all that sort of stuff. I was really injured, and I started to succeed more socially, financially, and all that good stuff as well. And this is all as a result of training with a more athletic approach in mind. Right. So, as I said, you need to flip the script on what you're doing. You don't want to be a gym bunny. And I'm all for it. If you want to elevate your life, yes, it does start physically. I do agree with that. But you're going to run into some big, big hurdles if you quickly isolate yourself into one bracket of training. Like training like a bodybuilder, training like a powerlifter. There are things like, HIIT classes, F45, high rocks, all that sort of stuff, right? Which is fine. I think they those F45 high rocks things, they broaden the range a little bit, but again, I think you're condensed down into a niche, right? Being athletic, as I described, is being fit, okay, lean, strong, explosive, athletic, all right? And in order to do that, you need to have that incorporated into your training, all right? So train to be athletic. Now, this doesn't mean train like an athlete, because every athlete's different, right? I don't really like that term, because if you think about it, a football trainer is going to train a lot different to a UFC fighter who's going to train a little bit differently to a darts thrower. I don't even fucking think darts throwers train, but you know what I mean. They're going to train a little bit differently. Okay, so training like an athlete's a bit subjective. Just train to be athletic, and what makes humans athletic is, as I said before, they jump, lift, throw, sprint, all that sort of stuff. So your training needs to incorporate those sort of things. Get competitive with it as well. This is a big part of what I did. Now, some people have inbuilt competitiveness, and then they'll walk into the gym and they'll see that guy that's roughly lifting about the same amount as them, and they're like, fuck, I'm going to get on that bar and just show him what's up or whatnot, or it could be to do it for the opposite sex. Whatever it might be, get competitive with it. If you need to go and take up a new hobby, like I did, with kickboxing, if you need to go take up a new sport, if you need to reach a new level of financial success, relationship success, social success, whatever it might be, just lean into that competitive element, because it will drag you up and stop you getting stuck in that isolated, mundane, routine, bodybuilding, powerlifting style training. Try new and old things. As I said, took up kickboxing, took up a sport that I used to enjoy as well. Eat to train. So once you start to make this mindset shift as well, away from like justifying your eating choices by your training, like, oh yeah, I went to the gym and, you know, train like a bodybuilder / powerlifter. Like, I was in the gym, like I can probably eat a little bit more because I've burnt so many calories. As I said, training like a bodybuilder or powerlifter, it's actually not that fucking hard. I'm being completely honest, it's not that hard. As I said, not on the elite level, but it's just not that fucking hard. Okay, all right. So eat to train. Start to fuel your performance instead of, you know, working from the back end, work from the front end, front load it. So work from the front side of it, all right? Think about the things that you're going to eat. Is that going to carry over to fuel your performance? Is that going to carry over to sustain your energy throughout the day, right? That's all going to have a positive flow over into the rest of your life. Eat to train. Remember that one. Create awareness around sleep. So as I said, this is for me, is creating awareness. You can also do it through your phone as well. If you want to, like obviously Apple has an inbuilt app that tracks your sleep. Again, just get an idea of where your sleep is. Like if you're averaging 5-6 hours, you need to fucking sort that out. All right. Get out of the four walls of the gym as well. You often get trapped in this, and this again is a big part of isolating yourself, training exclusively like a bodybuilder / powerlifter. You know, a gym bunny, as Piers said. You need to get out of the four walls with your of the gym. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to go crazy and start fucking climbing mountains and doing all this sort of shit. But just try to find something physical outside of the gym, right? It could be something inside the gym. It could just be like the boxing class over there, or whatever it might be. But just take yourself out of that weights room, those four walls, those stinking four walls of the weights room. Just go try something else, okay? Because you'll find pretty quickly that you suck at it, and it'll ignite a competitive element within you, right? And because that's going to happen, you're going to have a flow-on effect, because you're going to increase your intensity of your training. You might look to other styles of training. You might broaden your abilities, your athletic abilities, start to create a bigger athletic foundation. Everything will skyrocket from there. Create new awareness around sleep, like we talked about. Get out of the four walls of the gym. Kind of repeating myself there. Stop trying to be super smart with your training. It's this spot, but stop trying to be super smart with your training. This is a big trap I fell into, especially when it came to the more like bodybuilding, powerlifting training. Is, again, I said it's not that fucking hard, but a lot of people try to be too clever with it. Like, I'm not going to train to failure. Okay, I don't want to get injured and all that sort of stuff. As I described, I was doing all that and still more injured than I was ever. You know, I was still the weakest, the most unfit I was. Okay, it was just a shit approach because I was trying to be too smart with it, because I forgot the most important element. You need to fucking train hard. Right? I don't care what anybody says about like optimizing, overtraining. I've coached like 300 people plus like through my online service, and I've never once had a circumstance where somebody overtrained. Okay, never once have I ever seen that. Okay, your body is more resilient than you think it is. You're not a wet paper towel. Okay, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. You can push yourself to the limits. Okay, your body will quickly respond if it's too much. Okay, the only dangerous thing you can do is the thing that you aren't prepared for. So if you're relatively prepared for it, you've done a bit of training, there's no reason why you can't start pushing that limit on a more constant basis. You don't need to hold yourself back just this perfect amount to make sure you're not overtraining and overstimulating to optimize results. Because at the end of the day, you'll just end up falling into a mental trap of being understimulated, being bored, getting mundane with your training, and just going through the motions, and it doesn't really result in much physically and mentally. Just get uncomfortable with it. Like I spoke about, like try to take up a new task outside of the gym. Try a new style of training, right? Try to do some things that you fucking suck at. Just get uncomfortable with it. Those are the main things, right? And those are the things that we prioritize inside my program, Unlocking Your Full Potential. If you do want to know more about that, there is a link below for it. But that is essentially why I do partly agree with what Piers was saying, that the world is full of a bunch of gym bunnies, and I think that is mostly part of its own undoing, right, where people misinterpret the physical and the mental, and then we find this physical solution and we think it's the easiest solution, and we tend to kind of lean towards it as a bit more of a comfort, rather than realizing that, okay, if we want that physical solution to become true for our well-being, then we need to get uncomfortable with it and take ourselves to new limits to unlock full potential.